Yeah, but you have no questions. You do.
Okay, well, with NYAV Post, a few years ago you used mainly, like established New York voice actors, but in more recent productions like, for example, Gundam Unicorn, Gundam The Origin, you and the Berserk movies, you brought in from all over. What brought about that change? Not that it's a bad change, it's awesome. I love the cross-region stuff.
Well, I was one of the first people doing it because I made my studio bicoastal so that, oh, I feel a burp coming on. Should I let it out? No. Be a gentleman. Just because it's Sunday morning and you're tired, don't think that everyone wants to hear you burp. Do you? It's a tiny. More people. Hey, you missed me introducing who I was, so now you don't know.
Jackal.
Okay, so my mouth just touched this and I got a little freaked out. Flesh-eating birds. I don't know who's been on this thing. So my studio's I made it bicoastal because it is my belief that as a director, my palette is actors, and I wanted to have access to more, and I wanted to bring work around, like, why should these people not be exposed to these clients? So I really kind of, also because I started off as an actor, I really wanted to help my actor community. So now, like actors in New York, and there's a lot less work going on in New York, can get to work on some California jobs. And sometimes California actors get to work on New York jobs. But to me, it really matters that I can get the rightest person for each job, because when you're casting, a lot of people will focus on, and you can hear it in productions when the leads are well cast, but then the ancillary characters are like, what? Or they're recycling people a lot. So I just wanted to do better work. And it's been really handy because now that we're doing more work with celebrities, they move around a lot. So I'm being asked to like, oh, you got a place in New York, right? Can we record X famous person at your studio in New York? And I'm like, fine, I have to. I mean, so that's been cool. And also, selfishly for me, since I'm a voice actor and I travel a lot, I have a facility on both coasts that I can use that's mine. But yeah, I really think it's wonderful to be able to mix the casts. I think it's cool. I'm glad you think it's cool. I don't think a lot of producers get it. First of all, they should just want access to more talent. That's good. And I think from a marketing standpoint, it's very hip to be like this person from this show and this person who've never mashed up. It's like Marvel versus DC or Mortal Kombat versus Street Fighter. I mean, that's the kind of mashup, shippy, not shipping. Scorpion and the Flash and Zangief. Yeah. So that could kind of work maybe. Yeah, so I think it's cool. Thank you for noticing. Yeah. Any other questions? Who's good? I'm gonna sit here and wait. No. Oh, bring that here to me.
Hi. I was lied to and they didn't have pastelitos, but I promise I'll get you some later, but I got you a cheese Danish.
I got a cheese Danish. This is my my dealer. She's been getting me all kinds of Cuban coffees since I've been here. One every day, and I'm super wired. I'm coming down, so I need a refresher. I was bragging to people in the green room. All the people are like, I'm gonna make a coffee before I go signing, and all these famous people, and I was like, They're like, you don't want any? I was like, I got a special situation where my girl was hooking me up with chemical leches. And yesterday was what do you call it?
Yesterday we had an iced coffee. The coffee was brewed for like 16 hours.
16-hour brew. Before that?
A veces cortadito.
Cortadito.
Yeah.
Yellow one is that?
Wow. Yes, sorry, I went French. I didn't mean that. Jus des. That's Japanese.
Get that out. Enjoy.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so ask a question so that I can put this down and go grab my Scooby snacks. Yeah, you got a question?
Yeah, I got a question.
I'm listening.
All right, so you did
Is this
a lot
weird?
of work.
Is this a problem for you? You're grimacing at me.
Just stay there. Or sit on the table. Like you're supposed to.
I wasn't sitting on the table, but I dangle and fall, and I didn't feel like it was very... I can vague. Yes, sorry.
So you did
Green
a lot of
Carmen San Diego. No.
No, actually, I'm a green arrow.
I just like making up names for costumes. I don't know if you noticed that.
That's fine.
I'll be like, you are Stripeless Waldo. I don't know. I
That's
can't.
a good one. All right, so you did a lot of work with Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yes.
How was that? Because you're the Dark Magician, and he's a pretty big part of the Yu-Gi-Oh universe.
Ironically, right? So, anyone don't know Yu-Gi-Oh? It's a card game.
On motorbikes.
What? Okay, he loves Yu-Gi-Oh. You guys should be friends. So throughout the entire season of Yu-Gi-Oh, like there's Yamayugi, and then he duels, and he's got Blue Eyes White Dragons, and the Dark Magician is like his favorite card. Well, we don't meet the origin story or the origin story of this character until season 5, the last season. And then I come along, and I'm all of a sudden like, I'm his favorite card. But cards don't talk. How can you be a card? Well, there's the backstory, and if you don't know it, spoiler alert, just la 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 la. If you don't want to know any spoilers, like me, every time there's a new Terminator trailer, I have to cover my ears. Because my buddy, who is a screenplay writer and just retired from the New York City Police Department, he's a homicide detective, he didn't see a single trailer for T2, and it didn't even occur to me that you don't know that Arnold's you've seen T2, right? That Arnold's a good guy until they're like in the mall in that hallway scene, and he's like, get down, and he pulls her out, and he saves John Connor. You see this other, much more, relatable T-1000 Terminator, and he looks like he's a cop, and you trust him, because back in those days, we didn't have problems with cops. Times they are a shit. But it's not political. I'm not even on a soapbox or a stage, so I can't talk about that. Hey, nice, yay, marriage equality. Anyway, so so since then, I'm like, okay, I will never watch. I'll try not to watch trailers if I can help it, and especially Terminator trailers. And someone told me there's a big spoiler in it, so I don't want to see it. So every time I go to the movies, I'm just like blah 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 blah, and it's so loud. I try to get people to talk to me while it's happening.
Actually put in earplugs.
Put in earplugs, but I can still hear it. So what I do is I like plug and unplug and blah 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 blah. So it's like a stutter edit for a DJ. So it's more confusing, but you can still start to make it out. I have very good ears. I mix surround sound movies for a living. So I'm trying to not hear that, and it's pissing me off. Sorry. So, spoiler alert, was the whole point. Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 5, Mahad is the slave companion servant to the pharaoh, and then, he gets bitten by a snake. And the pharaoh, who could easily just discard him like a Kleenex and get another slave to take care of his stuff, sucks the poison out. Well, Mr. Yu-Gi-Oh! So then Mahad's like, wow, you didn't have to do that. You're a really great dude. And then he sacrifices himself to save the pharaoh. So really, he was going to die either way. But it's nice that Yugi saved him once. And then he travels through time and space to protect him. And then I got to be the card, who doesn't say a lot, but is an important character, which is kind of funny when you have a character who's important but doesn't have has a lot of screen time. But since I'm not using my face for radio, I'm using my voice. I don't get to. Another character. Anyone seen Tiger and Bunny? It's an anime. So it's really, really good. It's about like superheroes, kind of, but then they're sponsored.
The dudes in the robot suits. There's a green one or a pink one.
No.
That's Voltron. No, it was like two guys that were.
Oh, there's a green. Yeah. They're like power suits.
Yeah,
not like huge
the
robots.
guys in Tiger and Bunny, they wear power suits.
They sure do. One is sort of pink and one is sort of green, and they have like labels like cars, race cars. And I play this guy Origami Cyclone, and he looks like a throwing star. He's much more sort of kabuki'd out, and he does like kabuki things. But his superpower is being able to morph into other people. So as soon as I'm like, I want to turn into that guy, then whoever's playing the voice of that guy takes over. So Origami has a lot more screen time, and I'm like, hey guys, and then see you next week. And they come and like, sorry camera, I moved again. I'm just gonna stand right here. Are you able to focus on me?
On your neck.
Great. Oh, did you see the guy who had Superman shaved into his chest hair?
Yes.
It's amazing. If I had that, I would just stand in front of the camera.
Let me see that.
Whoa. How much? No. So, I just got self-conscious. I'm going to crawl under the...
Oh, stop.
What? All right, so what, that's so Mahad. And that was really cool to do because he's such an important character, but then, sorry, I'll say. And then he doesn't say a whole lot, but he... And the weird thing about the voice, too, because he's like a grand, powerful card. I just try to imitate Dan Green, but I have a child's voice, which is why I played nerds and teenagers and stuff, and he sounds like a real man. So for him, it was harder to be like Yamayuki little guy, and then when he transforms into the Pharaoh man, he could be like full blown Dan Green. But I tried to do him when I did. I've traveled through time and space to defend you, and that was my inspiration for the voice. Was the guy I was talking to.
That's cool.
But I can't do it very well, so it doesn't sound like him. It sounds like another guy being heroic. He says it naturally, like he'll go through a drive-through and be like, "The chicken wings," and they'll be like, "Yes, my Pharaoh. Your money's no good here, my Pharaoh. I would like paper, not plastic." Immediately, yes. Shaken, not stirred. Take a bite of it. Yeah, any other questions so I can bite? You got a question, sir, and don't tell me to take my shirt off.
That was my question. Any chance of you coming back to Bravely Second?
I was in a video game called Braver Default.
Jackal.
I was Jackal, stab, stab. And I've signed a couple of things through this weekend. There is a new game, I guess. It's going to come out, right? It's going to announce.
Come out next year.
But we don't know what we're doing yet. I think it's like a different studio might be doing it, maybe. But we will see if we are asked back to do our dead characters or any new characters. We'll see.
There was alternate versions of you.
There's alternate versions of me, so but I don't know. And I know it hasn't recorded yet, so there's still a chance.
Well, Bryce and whoever the playing Magnolia is that voice. That's it.
He's coming back?
Yeah,
Is that confirmed?
I think so.
Good.
There's an English trailer in the game.
Oh, he's in the trailer?
Yeah, you gotta put in the Konami code.
Yeah. Oh, the up, down.
Yeah. Up, down, left, right, DS, left, side.
Yeah. You know the Konami code. If you can do it in real life, it'll make me
I know it like the back of my hand. What the fuck is that?
Gross, I'm eating cheese sandwich, don't make me. Next. All right. No. Yeah.
Can you talk about your work on Samurai Deeper Q?
Oh.
Oh, that's going back.
All right. You're way too young to know.
What?
You're like, what? Oh, I mean, like, you got like really missing first, and then you were like, oh, no, wait. Yeah, good. Yes, you don't look a day over 8. Wait, is that a compliment?
Sure.
Yeah. By the way, when it comes to age, a gentleman never asks, and a lady never tells. Anyway, I worked on Samurai Deeper Kyo. We did that in New York for Media Borastazo, and then there was a video game, and we got to work on that too.
Oh, really?
It was cool, yeah. It was at a time when we were like, we were doing like 11 series at my studio simultaneously, and it was wonderful because like every director there was doing like 3 things, and then we'd sometimes help each other out, but it's like clockwork. We'd be like, I'm recording till 3, then you come in, we swap out, then you record this person. And Dan Green got to do some directing there too. And he was, speaking of Yu-Gi-Oh, he was Kyo. You heard it too, didn't you? The voice of the sound of the wind? The voice of the
The voice of the wind, yeah.
voice of the wind. And no one can sound more cool doing that than Dan Green. And then I, at the time, would sometimes like start off a series. I'd direct like the first volume or 2. So we'd establish, and then I'd pass it off and be like, this is what we're doing, this is what we have cast, and this is sort of the vibe. And they'd be like, great, and then it's easier for them to step in. Because I was also training people who were actors to also be directors. I was given an opportunity, and I love helping people sort of, get a foothold. And, there was a lovely man, Randy Drew in North Carolina, who gave me my start doing, okay, speaking of going back, Bubblegum Crisis.
Oh, man.
I'm that old. And I got to play guitar on it, and I got to be a voice on it. And it's where I started working in studios and directing. I didn't direct on Bubblegum Crisis, but I got to direct some ancillary characters on maybe at the end of Crisis, and then on Crash, and then 80 Police Files let me do a lot more heavy lifting. I gave Sean Schemmel his first directing job there, and I know he'd been trying to at Funimation. They were like, no, you just Goku, and we got the rest covered. So I let him do that. Dan Green was clearly a fantastic theater actor, and I thought he would add a lot to being able to direct things and bring his experience. And he really elevates things. He's so fancy sounding that anything he says, I need you to groan with more pathos, and you're like, great.
You sound fancy. I'll tell you a woman to cluck like a chicken.
Yeah, cluck like a chicken. You need to cluck with the angst of the unborn egg. But it'll sound really purposeful, and then you feel like you're not just clucking. So he, I had established it, moved on to something else, and then I got cast as the Akira Freezy guy and make everything very cold. It was fun. It was really, really cool. But I don't cast myself in things that I produce. I usually get cast by the client, or sometimes they'll ask, they'll be like, hey, like on, we did Slayers. This is becoming very anime-centric. Is that okay? Anyone hate anime? Okay, because we can talk about pre-layer stuff too. But I was asked to do the new version of Slayers for Funimation because it was really like a beloved dub from the olden days. Even though in the olden days we've all learned a lot since then. But you know, you had Lisa Ortiz and Crispin Freeman and Eric Stewart of Pokemon fame, and he was Kaiba in the Yu-Gi-Ohs. Pegasus?
I think so.
Wasn't he Kaiba?
Yeah,
He was
Yeah,
definitely.
I was like, whoa, embarrassing.
Because his James and his Pegasus sound really similar.
Oh,
You know,
sure. Ooh, indeed. But they're very different people. One
they are.
has a pet cat and snake, and one plays cards. And after horse with wings. But he, so they asked me to get the band back together, and the only guy we couldn't get back was David Moo, unfortunately, who played the monster. It's a secret. And they asked me, kind of shyly, like, ooh, like, I mean, if you had any time, it'd be cool if you did it. And I was like, what? You sure? It's weird. I don't want to take someone's part. First of all, I'm very weird about that. I've been asked to do voice matches before, and I always have to talk to the person because something weird could be going on. There was a time when they were negotiating for, they were trying to not give a raise to the Futurama people. And you're like, Futurama, primetime television, you can probably afford it. And castings went out to voice match every cast member of Futurama. And I know John DiMaggio and all these people. So I thought that was kind of weird. What's going on there? And I just felt bad, and I didn't submit. Hey, it'd be really great to be on Futurama. I'd love to work
Who
with
did they ask you
Groening,
to
but
be on Futurama?
oh, they didn't ask me to be anyone. They said like, who can you match? Like audition for you know, they gave me Futurama characters, Fry, and, but I was like, no way. Those actors have those jobs. I don't want to steal that. And voiceover people in general tend to be really nice. All my friends who do more on camera, done a little on camera, and I'm just like, hey, I'm goofy. But my friends who do only on camera are like, what's with the voice actors like referring each other for jobs? That would never happen in my field. Because they're like, no, your competition. But we're like, oh, no, you want that? Oh, this dude is way better than me. You should meet my friend Dave. And so I was like, Dave, you got to read for this. And so I felt weird about that, but he couldn't do it. And there was like a thing, I think it was a union thing, or I don't know what it was. He'd started to open a bar, I think, as well. So he couldn't do it, so I did it, and I was very nervous about it. And then, shut up. No. And then I throw it on the ground. And yeah, I was nervous about it, but I did it. People were very nice about it. They were like, oh, I liked you.
Yeah, it was great. It was great hearing you as Zelos, and I have heard all the seasons already. Both are great.
Whew, thanks. I was petrified. People were like, you're not the voice of Zelos. And I'd be like, I'm sorry, we couldn't get that. We got everyone, but we couldn't. And then but people were generous and kind. Also, you know what? They went a different direction with Zelos when Dave did it, and it wasn't because of Dave. Dave has had this weird luck where they'll make him do something completely different from the original Japanese when he's dubbing something, and then people get mad at him. They're like, why'd you do this? He's like, because the director said do this. And they're like, well, it's not the same. And so it was an opportunity to make it a little closer to the original, which it hadn't been previously. So I think that, I wasn't trying to do David Moo, I was just trying to do Zelos. And yep.
Turned out great.
Thank you very much. I like the way it ends for him. Ooh. No spoilers.
No
spoilers.
spoilers.
But if you just la 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 if you don't want to hear spoilers. Yes. Yeah. What? Anyone going to talk about something?
He had his first.
Okay.
How'd you get started in the Venture Brothers?
The Venture Brothers. So I go Team Venture.
Yeah.
I would come over and do it, but 4K Sony over there is kind of like.
You want to go do it? Hold
Does he
on.
come over to you?
Bum 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 bum. Go Team Venture. Oh, my voice.
Didn't
is
catch any
thrashed.
of that. Do it again.
No, yes, ma'am. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Go Team Venture. In 4K. Are you shooting in 4K?
Yeah.
Your voice is like my legs in pain.
My voice is like your legs.
In pain.
Right. Your leg must be very smooth. My voice is feeling a little bug bitten, so I don't know if you were attacked by mosquitoes, but I'm like,
No. I was walking for 3 days.
Well,
4 days straight, 5 days straight.
you poor man. You got a little mascara too. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Was that guy liner?
No, it was for a Splatoon Inkling yesterday, Cosplay.
Oh.
You know,
But
when I sprayed everything in there.
guy eyeliner is guy liner.
Guy liner.
I'm just saying. And
It was
boy
it was-
panties are manties. And what else can you do?
Romance.
Romance, yeah.
Romance and verse.
Merce is a man's purse, yes. Anyway, a woe man is just a woman. But
Oh man.
ooh. Venture Brothers. So when I was in North Carolina, starting off doing voiceover things, I was working in a recording studio, and I learned how to run a recording studio. I mean, like how the patching and busing and large console mixing and multi-track stuff. So what? Old days? Oh, teach you your ways. Well, yeah. Actually, we were running an early sort of side variant of Pro Tools made by the same company, but it was for PC when only Macs could run Pro Tools, called Session 8. It was ridiculous. If you know anything about editing, instead of cutting sound out to make silence, you had to render a silence file and put it on top of the audio. Such a weird backwards workflow, right? I know, it's super weird, but
Super inefficient.
super inefficient.
Efficiency there.
And yeah, this one, she's, I was gonna call you a green hat. It's funny, it's a hacker term. No, she's a programmer person. Yeah, it's really cool. I should, so I got an opportunity to work in New York at a video game developer through my old high school buddy, who, long story short, was in the same class with me and Emily, who he dated later. And Emily created the show Selfie, which Karen Gillan was in, and she just talked about it today, an hour ago. What? It's a small world after all. It is. So I went to high school with this friend, who then hired me to work with this game developer in New York, because he needed someone who could like voice act, voice direct, sound design, and knew about studio stuff. Because he was like, I just want to compose music for the game, and I get to hire a team. So you do all that audio stuff, and I'll do this composing stuff. And I was like, perfect. So went back to New York, did that. I scratched a lot of voices for. Okay, so I'm a huge gamer. At the time, okay, my first day at the job, I meet this guy, Mike Foreign. You'll be tested on this later. Michael Foreign. He had a fake company called Foreign Films. Get it? So funny. What a droll guy. He came up to me. It's very like when you're a kid in the, anyone here move a lot? I moved a lot growing up. And yeah, see, you maybe take your bike out in the neighborhood, see if you can meet some other kids and like make friends, but everyone's a little bit like,
What's a friend?
oh, everyone hug him afterwards. And then, so this guy, Mike Foreign, shows up in my audio booth and he's like, hey. I was like, hey, what's your name? Michael. Mike, good to meet you. Yeah. So, you play video games? And I was like, yeah. He was like, you play Doom? This is the late 90s. And I was like, oh, I play Doom. You too? Yeah. You play Quake? Quake? Quake's not out yet. I have a beta. I'll go back to work. So he hooks me up after work, put it on the server, boop, 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 boop. Now I'm playing Quake for the first time. By the end of the first session, I'm fragging everyone to bits and pieces, and or to fragments, and giblets was the term we used. And then he was like, God damn it, I hate you! And we were friends ever since. So, then, quite by accident, they started ranking people, because you could get on QSpy or GameSpy, which became QSpy became GameSpy, and you could play people around the world, not just on your local area network or LAN. And I ended up being ranked in the top 20 people in the world. But I didn't even know they were ranking people. So people who knew were like playing career games and quitting before they got killed. I was like, when it was time to work, I'd alt-tab, let myself die. But I was in the top 20 in the world. So we were the top 2 fighters. And it was so funny, at the time, working at a game developer, being a hardcore like FPS guy, and then making edutainment games. We made Pink Panther games for like teaching math and geography. And they were fantastic. And our animators were better than what some other people were doing on other shows that also had pink cats that were now talking. There was a talking pink. Okay, Pink Panther's voice is Henry Mancini's music. But then they did some new thing with all due respect, the voice of Max Headroom, Matt Frewer, was now the voice of the Pink Panther, but it was all, oh, hello kids, and I was like, what? Why is he talking and being goofy? So we were supposed to, get him to talk in our game, and we offered it to him. He wanted like $250,000, and we were like, here's the big one, and we couldn't afford that, so we had to find a voice match. And at the end of like putting out a casting notice, my friend Jared, the composer, was like, yeah, you should put yourself on the tape. So I was like, but that's weird, I'm holding the auditions. And he goes, yeah, but who gives a crap? You're an actor, you should be on there. So I put myself on as a fake name, and then the president of the company said, oh, MGM wrote back and they want to go with Michael Tremaine, call him in. And I was like, oh, well, Miss Winchester, that's me. And they were like, all right. Why are you being weird about it? And I was like, oh, sorry, I put myself on the tape. Anyway, so then I did that. But I'd done all these other voices for temp stuff of these kids that he goes to rescue. Why is this a panel about the Pink Panther's passport to peril? Anyway, also game designed by Emily Kapnick, who made Selfie, who Karen Gillan's star of. Go figure. Anyway, we do the game, and all these voices I did temp stuff for, the kids asking Pink Panther, what does this mean, and where do I go to find this clue? They ended up, the programmers were like, oh, those are really funny, and they just kept them in the game. So my scratch dialogue ended up in the game. Because of that, years later, once we would all scatter to the winds, but a few of us kept in touch. Of course, me and who?
Mike.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
I failed you.
You failed me. You don't get a hug from me. More hugs for him from the rest of you, because I won't go near him. And I don't want guy liner all over this white shirt. Do you see that? Does it have the square still in the? Because it's
Just
folded.
my eyes.
So I was at a meeting at Media Blasters, who had hired me for those things we talked about earlier, and I got a phone call from Mike Foran going, oh, dude, hey, what are you doing right now? I'm at a meeting, sort of, at a client's office. He goes, we're doing it, Chris is doing this new show, and he's playing brothers, but his actual brother just sounds too old, so we can't use him, but it didn't work out. We had the people coming through, no one sounds good, and you did all those kids for the game, and you'd be great, but you gotta come now. And I was like, well, I don't, can I come tomorrow? He's like, it records tomorrow. I was like, what? Why? He's like, I'm sorry, I was like, well, I guess it's not gonna work out. And that's when I almost walked away from auditioning for the Venture Brothers. And then, as I was like, well, good talking to you, we should catch up. Wait, where are you located anyway? He was like, we're on 38th and 8th. And I was like, I'm on 36th and 8th right now. All right, I can wrap this up, and if you can be there for I can be there in 30 minutes, because I got finished. And not because it takes me 30 minutes to walk 2 blocks, even if it's near Port Authority, which is a lot of traffic, and a lot of weirdly heroin guys. Whenever I would go to that office, there was lots of fashion, garment district stuff, and big racks of mink coats and reels of fabric, and people knocking each other down. Really bad donut places, and then a guy in the middle of the street is going,
Oh, that was me.
so yeah, see, no hugs. Okay, hug at your own risk. I didn't tell you to do it. Sorry, this gentleman needed hugs. If later, if anyone is feeling generous, but they had to be free. He really can't afford to wash his face. He's got a Band-Aid on his forehead.
It's Pretty Princess Band-Aid. Excuse you very much.
Exactly. So I go over there and I meet Miguel. Miguel is the skinniest man. Anyone not know the Venture Brothers? You don't know the Venture Brothers? Great. So it's a cartoon on Adult Swim. Are you messing with me?
No.
Okay. Because you're laughing about it. All right, Venture Brothers is a show on Adult Swim. It's really, really cool. And it's sort of based on Johnny Quest, except it's an Adult Swim version of Johnny Quest. And our dad is this skinny, crazy super scientist who breaks everything. But for the season 2 box set, Miguel was the photo reference. This is my quick way of describing him. He's impossibly thin. He's turning around going, with his glasses. Anyway, meeting him for the first time. He's got a scratchy voice. Oh, hello, you're friends with Mike. It's good to meet you. Come here. And he talks me through this thing. He goes, these are the corny boys. Corny boys? Corny boys, from the 50s. And I was like, okay, corny boys from the 50s. Oh, like Davy and Goliath. And he's like, yes. So we go into a closet, and there's foam in it, and there's literally one of these mics, not like a studio mic, but like a stage mic, with a stocking on it and a chair with a DAT recorder. A DAT is a digital audio tape. In the days before flash storage and the clouds, there were linear-based media, and if you wanted to hear the next song, you had to fast forward through it. Can you believe that? Well, on DAT there were ID markers, so you could actually skip. You had to wait. You can
We
still
live like savages.
Yeah, it's terrible, like cave wall scrawlings. So he kneels down by this chair. He's like, okay, go. So I have my script, and I'm like, gee, Willikers, and I start doing all this stuff, and I actually start channeling the voice of a director I had on the Ninja Turtles, the legendary Sulu, who was an Autobot. She was RC. She was a misfit in Gem and the Holograms, and she was in G.I. Joe, and I think she was a pony. As in My Little, like your earrings, girl. She has My Little Pony earrings. I'm not making that up.
Dr. Hoops.
Dr. Hoops, yeah. Good. It's clever. I know the woman who wrote the Derpy episodes and like that whole thing, and she got death threats when they tried to change the Derp. Anyway, yeah, it's crazy. She wrote Care Bears, which I was a Care Bear. Any huge Care Bear fans? Yeah, never. All right, oh yay, good. And now we're cool as Orange is the New Black because Care Bears is now a Netflix original because they paid for the new season, which will be coming out when it comes out. You know how they do. It's all at once. There's no like, trickle them out. So you gotta wait for it, and then it'll be so worth it. And then we're in prison, and then there's a crossover episode where the kitchen staff is like, you can't eat any more of this, and we're like, no, but I'm just a Care Bear. I want to give you care hugs. And they're like, no touching. So I go to audition, and I'm reading the thing, and halfway through the audition, I see Miguel just shaking his head. And I was like, no, let me finish at least, you hate me. And then he starts going, no. And I was like, crap. And he goes, no, he's perfect. He is Dean. And he like runs to the office, Dean. And they're like, huzzah, we didn't think we had one. And we record tomorrow. But it was all meant to be because the studio was so close to my house that I didn't even have to cross the street. I took a left, and then went upstairs. And I was at the studio. We recorded on one mic, and it was us face to face. It was very intimate. Like that. I'll show the 4K. We're like this, sharing a mic in a figure 8 mode, so it only picks up the front and the back and not the sides. And we were like, go Team Venture at each other's faces, and not able to synchronize them, which is embarrassing, but I guess it's true what they say about white men can't jump and have no rhythm. So, but if I had music and rhythm, I mean, really, who could ask for anything more? So, ask your parents. So then that's like 10 years ago. But I almost didn't go because I was in the middle of a business meeting with the now defunct Media Blasters. What? But Venture Brothers is still going. Yeah, so that's how I got on the Venture Brothers. Does that answer your question?
That was my question.
Does that answer yours as well? I
Pretty
think she
much.
was thinking it. She's like, I don't even know what this show is, but how did you get cast as that titular character? You had a question?
I don't know if it was already asked, I came in here late. Who are your favorite characters on the Venture Brothers?
Who are my favorite characters in the Venture Brothers? Okay, so I have Brock I think is the coolest, and I've learned a lot. So my studio, being bicoastal, did a couple seasons of the Venture Brothers records, and he came into my LA studio to record, and I was like, oh my god, the Patrick Warburton, he's the Tick, and he's putty on Seinfeld if you're into that live action stuff, but and a million things, and yeah, Seinfeld eats a lot of cereal. So do I. I'm like the Goyim version of Seinfeld, because I'm
That's the deal with you dying all the time.
well, that's the deal with these songs. But I'm not as funny as him. I don't have as many cars. That dude has like a whole building in Manhattan full of cars. It's his garage, a private garage full of cars in Manhattan.
What's the deal with small space?
Yeah, why do I live in this town? So I was very excited to see Patrick Warburton work because he's a legend. He's done all these things, and and he gets in there, and this was a huge learning experience for me. He gets in there, and he sits down in his chair. He's
Hi, how you doing? You're Dean. Nice to meet you.
I was like, oh my God, you're great. And then so he starts working, and he doesn't like. Okay, there's a scene that's like a chase scene, and like if I'm reading a chase scene, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're getting chased, and you run. Hopefully, I'm not hoarse when I'm doing the scene, but he's just like, gotta move on, and I'm like, what's he doing? Like, did he not read that it's a chase scene? He's like sleepwalking. He's napping through the scene, and then he's like, let's move. And he just keeps doing all this random, weird, like, didn't seem appropriate stuff. And I started getting all like, Well, now my background had been doing anime, right? So in anime, you have to like do it right. The budgets are minuscule, and you have so many things to answer for. You got to fit it in that mouth with flaps, and the face, and the context of the scene is given to you. He is taking words and almost like walking through it. You know what I mean? And at first I was a little pissy, but then as he was exploring all this different stuff, all these weird choices would come up, you know? And I think it's like the best character because his choices are so not what I would think of right away. They're not the right choice, but they're better than right. They're really bizarre, creative. They're still real. They're just, you know, like, he's such a tough guy, he doesn't have to be like, tough, which I think is great. But, you know, he's got lines like, I remember, I think it was Hate Floats. He's in the bathroom, you know, Hank just, I was throttling his junk when he set it on fire by humping a hand dryer, a hot air dryer. You're so confused. I'm so sorry, Jessica.
This actually happened.
I'm imagining it, and I'm like, I want to see that.
Do you dab? I dab. You should dab. We're in the bathroom. We're on a date, right? A double date. And the girls are back out there, and we're nervous. We got to go to the bathroom to talk, and we don't know anything about girls. Dean literally would practice kissing his hand puppet, like, because he doesn't know how to talk to girls or anything. So they're in the bathroom. Hank gets water in his crotch. He tries to dry it, and then he gets the hand dryer, and he's like humping. He's like, "This feels too good. It's like someone with a fever is screaming in my pants." But then, of course, the villains who are trying to always kill our dad find out where we are, and they're going to use us to get to our dad. And then our bodyguard, played by Patrick Stewart, I almost said. Patrick Warburton, yes. Engage. Can you imagine? He's like, yeah, it's Dr. Venture. So he comes in his muscle car, the Charger, through the wall, leaps out of the window. He's naked for some reason that happened earlier, and he's standing there. And actually, they render his muscles, and then they just put a black bar over it. So when you see a black bar in Venture Brothers, no, there is a truth behind the black bar. It's not just they drew like a Ken doll and put a black bar. Don't know if you ever took the pants off a Ken doll, but nothing there. Built just like a Barbie doll. I guess she's got more of a boop in the back, but I don't know. And of course, he doesn't have the because he's Ken. You're welcome. That's Sex Ed, duh, 01, and Doll 01. Everything I knew about reproduction I learned from Mattel. But Milton Bradley, wait, who made Mattel? Mattel makes power. So he comes through, and I'm like naked, and he gets in the stall, and the monarch shows up, and he's going. There's like all these people hiding in the stalls: henchman, villain, bodyguard who's naked, and we're just like trying to dry our pants so we don't look like we weed ourselves. As the monarch goes through all the no. I think Brock is going through all the stalls, making sure no one tries to mess with the boys because he's our bodyguard. One of the henchmen actually is a little backed up, and he can't go until Brock literally scares the crap out of him. He's like, "Oh, well, the good news is I don't have to go anymore." And then he gets to another stall, and the mighty monarch, who models himself after a butterfly, is there, and he's like, "No, I'm not here for them. I'm here to find Truck. The guild has put out a hit on." And Brock is supposed to menace him and say, "I don't need another one of your excuses." I don't think that was very slurry. "I don't need another one of your excuses, Monarch." And the way Patrick does it, as if it's one word, "I don't need another one of your excuses." And I was like, he's yawning. He's literally yawning. But then I started to realize, oh my God, why would you just do like the boring knee-jerk? Everyone would be like, or running. Like, do something different. Just explore something else, and maybe you'll come up with gold. And I think all of his lines are gold. And God bless him. I think he's got the experience, the confidence to not just like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, studio time's expensive. Let's do it right." And he just does all these different things. And in the beginning, like, you know, Chris was like, "Well, I'm not sure if that's gonna," and they kept doing stuff until he did something so random, and Chris just started laughing. I was like, "Oh my God, I love it. We have to do that." And it would change the animation sometimes too. So that sort of gave me permission to not just be like I would in a dub, where you have very little latitude. I mean, you've got, everything's been drawn, and you have to fit into that, which is a real tricky thing to do. And most people I know that have done ADR, which is dialogue replacement, and prelay are like, "Oh yeah, prelay is way easier because you can just do whatever you want, and then they'll draw to whatever you did. But having that freedom, you should use it. We did a lot of stuff, in even Care Bears, that was not even scripted. Stephanie Shea, Sailor Moon, she's been doing panels. She and I are both Care Bears. She is Cher Bear, and I'm Funshine, clearly. And it's because of the yellow fur. And we did this whole thing, we came up with like cheers and stuff, it was really bizarre. It's fun, but you get to do what?
No, she gave me one Funshine years ago.
You gave me a Funshine. You gave me a Funshine. You gave me a Funshine. That sounds like it could be a bad thing. It's like a Melvin, which is the West Coast for wedgie. Let me take your atomic wedgie. It's a Funshine. No, don't do it to me again. Sorry. Any questions? Yeah. You, sir.
Okay, well, you did that little Arnold Schwarzenegger impression thing. I just like since I liked your work in Gal Geiger, can we get Guy Schwarzenegger?
Yes. I just did a session for a Monkey King movie with this actor who's incredible. He's the best impersonator, and he used to be a bodybuilder, and he met the Arnold. And he does a really good Arnold. We were doing it all day in the session. It's not just like get you the chopper. He's like, when you meet him, he's like a really laid back guy. He's like, well, he doesn't have to be like, exactly, like Patrick Warburton isn't like, Arnold doesn't have to be like, I have muscles. It's obvious. It's written all over your. All right. So, so when he does his Arnold, it's like just conversational Arnold, which I don't hear a lot of. Everyone's doing the chopper. But he's like, oh yes, it's fantastic. Yeah, good to meet you. He's like, and so just all day we're like, oh yes, fantastic. That and like De Niro, who I actually met. That's another story. Again, later there was a show of hands for it. And he's always doing that thing. But this guy's incredible. I got videos. I could do it on my phone, but I didn't have a thing to plug my phone into VGA. But and the projector man left. I sent him on his way. I was like, I got an iPhone, unless they've got like an Air Apple TV and like an Air display, then I can't do nothing with that plug. It's such a fat plug, my phone is like thin. So, flesh-eating virus got to my iPhone. So now it's like really lean. South Beach diet. So South Beach diet. My South Beach diet has been plátanos, tostones, lots of ropa vieja. Is that it? That's, but isn't, yes, and pollo asado, and lots of flan. So I'm all for the South Beach diet. Anyway, sorry, that was nutritional information. Part of this nutritious breakfast, cup of coffee and a cheese Danish. Breakfast. So you had a question, and I was starting to answer it until I got totally Gal Geiger.
Right,
yeah, and then anyway,
I wanted to hear
like,
Guy Schwarzenegger.
Well, my voice is totally shot, so I've got to be like,
okay.
chill out, real, yes, transforming, it's fantastic, brave, hell in heaven, give them air.
Final fusion.
Final fusion. I met a guy in Florida, Orlando actually, at a convention who was there's a show called Gal Geiger. It was the spiritual successor to Transformers in Japan. It was supposed to sell 1 million toys, made by Sunrise, 52 episodes. We dubbed the first half of it, and like all good Sunrise shows, it starts off with like, dun, 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 dun. Not the 18, but like, this is gonna be cool. And the moral of the show is like, if the odds are stacked against you, but you are brave, and we had Dan Green, Yu-Gi-Oh! Saying this a lot, he can turn 12% chance. Like, he's not gonna win. He's got an 88% chance of getting his ass kicked. And he's like, he can take his 12% chance and turn it into 180% if he's brave. So it's all about, like, America, fill in the blank. I'm coming again to save the day, yeah. So lots of yelling and screaming. Then my funny story went off the rails. It was gonna be funny. It was gonna be so funny you should laugh anyway. So the thing, it's tragic, really super tragic, because all these characters you know and love, and the woman who has to authorize his transformation cries every time because she's his girlfriend, and she's like, he might die. No. Every time she like gives him the okay, he might die, and she cries, and it's amazing. She has to break the glass. It's so dramatic. Anyway, so some guy shows up dressed up as full transformed And when he transforms, it's more of a gestalt kind of thing, like the Constructicons. He has a bullet train, the Shinkansen, a stealth bomber, and all these vehicles joined together, and the magic lion that came from space, all and become this robot man. And then he has all these extra powers. And for every new enemy, he has to invent some crazy technique or use it in the wrong way to beat them. Like he has to go down the Marianas Trench, right? But it's too much pressure. So he uses his like force fieldy thing to go down there, and he's gonna die, but he's brave, so he doesn't die. Spoiler alert. But this dude was the full gestalt with the lion and the train, and he had sampled the show and had my voice with sound effects and music in the suit. The eyes would light up, and anytime he did a power move, and all the power moves are about yelling. It's the loudest show I've ever done. Oh my God. So he would stand there and be like, "Final Fusion!" And like, I wouldn't see him triggering anything. Maybe it was in the mask and he's going, no, but somebody would trigger the things, and the cosplay was flawless. And I was like, my voice is coming out of you. That's tripping me. And he was on like lifts, so like he was about this tall. It was so cool. So cool.
When was this?
It was fantastic. It was 2 years ago. Yep. Yeah.
You've done a bunch of different genres for voice acting. What's your favorite so far?
What's my favorite genre of voice acting things? It's weird because there's the experience of doing it, and then the thing you're doing, and then watching the thing. So, like video games. Clearly, I love video games, and I'm a world champion. But but then recording them can be really fun, but it can also be really the most weird, non sequitur nonsense session because you get a lot of words, and they could be like, if the player does this, do this. If the player does that, do that. So when you're doing cartoons, if you're doing an original animation like Ninja Turtles, Venture Brothers, you get to record with people generally. Venture Brothers is now single records. It's weird. I wish we were all together again. But everyone's like, big deal, and they can't schedule everyone together. And everyone's like split between New York and LA and traveling all the time. So it's fun to do a scene with people like Ninja Turtles. I had brothers, which I didn't grow up with any brothers, but I had 3 of them, and we would like act together all the time, and it would really help us do more stuff, and it was really fun. With video games, you're like, I'm seeing it this way, now I'm wounded, now I win, and it doesn't make any sense, and you got to track a lot of things in your head. Also, mic technique is even more important, because if you move around at all, that can make it sound different, but if you're recording a whole bunch of stuff where you're like this way on Monday, and you're like, these are all the mission accomplished stuff, and then you come back and throughout the mission something could make you fail, and you sound like this, then it's going to be like, okay, go moving ahead, frag out, and then you're like, oh, I'm wounded, and then it sounds bad. So there's a lot more to keep in your head for games, which makes it a little bit more challenging, but I actually kind of like that. But for me, it's always more fun to do stuff with other people, whether it's fantasy, sci-fi. You know what's fun? This is weird, I like working with kids, I really do. I don't think I'm very cool. I try to pretend to be because I was super nerdy, always the new kid when I grew up, picked on a lot, fat, acne, braces, and headgear. Oh yeah, headgear. Because once I would sleep with it, to be like, let me not go to school looking like this. But I woke up one day and it had come out of my mouth and was on my neck, and I was like, I almost got impaled by my headgear. So the orthodontist was like, work during the day then, problem solved. I was like, you're a son of a bitch, I'm 12, and now I'm gonna have so many insecurity things, and are you gonna pay for my therapy? I'm still suing him for therapy. I'll talk you through it. Anyway, so anyone notice that the carpet kind of looks like Captain America Pokeballs?
Yeah.
I just noticed that.
God, I'm not crazy.
I'm not saying you're not crazy, but I agree.
I'm still crazy, but I'm not crazy about this.
And so, wait, was I answering something? I'm totally forgot. Oh,
Your
kids.
genre.
I like working with kids. So, like, we did like on Care Bears, we had this kid who played Wonderheart, who doesn't know what her belly badge thing is yet. It hasn't grown in. I guess it's like a Care Bear puberty transition. So she's like, gee, I wonder what my thing's gonna be, and she keeps wondering. So she's called Wonderheart, and it's a curiosity thing. But we also have a special kid guest star every episode who would be transported to Care-a-Lot and would play with them. And it's really fun working with kids because, well, they say you shouldn't work with animals or kids because they'll upstage you because they're so natural. But for me, it's cool because all this like grown-up nonsense, I feel like I'm wearing a grown-up mask. And really, I just want to like play, which is why I do cartoons for a living. So when there's a kid there, I feel like I can be myself more. Is that weird or like, because I can just like play and not worry about it, and I can be sort of like the cool kid because I don't act like cool bike, not like that kind of cool kid. Just I'm like a goofy grown up, and then they think it's fun, and then we just play, and then I just forget about like yes, well I'm the president of the company, and we're bicoastal, we were established in 2000, and I'm like no, I just be like woo-hoo. So I like that a lot, and I think it's important. Also, I think Shakespeare's advice to the actors was the play's the thing, and I think it's called a play for a reason. In my booth, in one of my booths in LA, I have a play mat on the ground like you would play with your Matchbox cars, because I think it's a nice reminder that we're here to play. And don't take it too seriously. In fact, when I'm directing, I'll make people do things wrong, or make jokes, or do outtakes, which became a whole thing for Media Blasters when we were recording shows, and I would include all these outtakes, like on Berserk. Anyone heard of Berserk?
Oh yeah, those were.
So that became sort of known for its outtakes, and I started doing like musical outtakes for every volume on Griffith, and but that's also part of my directing technique because I want us to have fun. And I think there's a way to be more efficient if you're having more fun. You know what I mean? Like not just like screwing around. Because there were people that I worked with would like sort of goof off and not really get to the work, and then it would take longer and be a little harder. And then when we would play, but it was focused on the work, there's a way to make the work playful. That was like faster, better performances, way more fun.
Yeah.
Time would fly. We'd be like, oh my god, that was 3 hours.
Yeah, the best work I've heard is always sounds like the actors are really enjoying being their characters.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. So like, even if it's like a sad thing, like it's a fun way of delving into what's going on in those colors. So I believe in that. So play. That's why I like working with kids. And even in Berserk, like we got this kid to do Berserk when they redid Berserk as 3 movies. It was a TV series, 26 episodes. It's an ongoing manga, still happening. A super nightmare world. So if you're like, ugh. In the original one, we had women do kids' voices, but I really like using kids when I can for kids' voices. And this little kid whose dad is mean. He's the brother of the king, and the king's brother is also like the general of the king's armies, but he kind of sucks at his job. So these dudes come along with this mercenary band, and they're slaughtering all the enemies for the king, and the king's like, you've done great work for me, and the brother's like, you son of a... It's my job, and I'm a knight, and you're just a peon, but these peons know how to work, and these knights are all spoiled. So they go around killing the hell out of people, and the guy gets jealous and tries to assassinate this upstart. And so then the upstart was like, my man, to his main thuggy warrior, Guts, he's like, take care of this guy. And he's like, what, you want me to kill the brother of the king that we serve? He's like, yeah, he's trying to take me out. He's like, I'm loyal, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. So he goes in there, he assassinates the guy, and then he hears like a stirring in the next room. He freaks out, turns around, stabs through the door, and it turns out to be his son. And he's like, I just killed a 10-year-old, right? So he's like totally freaking out. But this 10-year-old who I brought in to do Peter Rabbit for Nickelodeon saw the box on in my studio and was like, you did Berserk? I'm like, you know Berserk? He's like, yeah. And I was like, you're 12 and you have the worst parents on earth. He's like, yeah, they don't really watch what I'm watching. I'm like, that doesn't make it better. So when the movies came up, I was like, hey, you want to maybe do a little Berserk? He was like, oh my God. So he was like the young kid. His father was very mean, training him how to be a warrior, but just basically abusing him. And then when he dies, it's like 30 seconds of, and then at some point he goes, and like blood comes out of his mouth. We recorded it for like all these different versions. Like, oh, okay, more puke, more blood, even more like strangly sounding. Not trying to breathe. And it was like, all right, now you're crying, but trying to cry, just trying to breathe. You're trying to breathe. You can't breathe. You're suffocating. He's like, and it was a blast. And they edited all these pieces together, and everyone who saw it was like, oh, you got a real kid. Well, oh God, why would you do that? So yeah, it was fun. Yeah, and then the two of us would be like, high five. Yeah. I was like, hey Mom, come in here. Look what he did today. She's like, oh, Colin was working. Great. Go. You signed a release. Sorry. Yeah. His mom was very cool about it. She was like, it's acting. He was Gavroche in Les Mis. Yes.
You mentioned Ninja Turtles. One of the things I found amusing about the 2003 Ninja Turtles cartoon was that it was this really dark show made by 4 kids, which was always about like making all anime kitty.
You know what?
And like, what do you think about the fact that even though this was anime, One Piece was running at the same time, but Ninja Turtles was so dark and really good, serious and
Wow,
good.
what a fantastic question, and thank you. I think it's great. Here's the thing. 4 Kids was started by Alcon, who made $1 bazillion, literally $1 bazillion is a figure of counting, selling Cabbage Patch Kids, right? And so he had all this money, it was like, we can do things, licensing deals. They licensed to some little yellow rat show Pokemon, made another $1 bazillion, that's $2 bazillion for counting at home. Then Yu-Gi-Oh! Has the cars, and what is it, Egypt, I don't know what that's about, boom, another smash hit. They're like, everything I touch turns to gold. But they'd only license things. Now their business model wasn't to dub Japanese anime, it was to release original American content that was already released somewhere else first. So they weren't trying to like serve the original, they changed a lot of things which raised the ire of many a fan. But when it came to Ninja Turtles, they were like, well, what else makes a lot of money? Ninja Turtles originally, when it was done in the 90s, made the most money licensing, because up to that point they're like, you make a cartoon to sell the toys, maybe you make some commercial money on the back end with the cartoons, everyone's a winner. But with Ninja Turtles, it was like some weird knockoff of Daredevil. No one thought it was going to go anywhere, and it magically did. The name doesn't make any sense, but the kids today, so they let everyone license it. Toothpaste, towels, punching bags, and it just caught on, and it sold like amazing, and it redefined what merchandising meant for animation. So we went to the premiere, and all the suits were like, well, we're very excited about the performance of Ninja Turtles in the past. And I'm like, it's a cartoon, turn this show on. I don't care about your marketing. Pie charts. Pizza pie, that's the only pie I want to see. Am I right, Cowabunga? So then, that's not even the voice I did on Ninja Turtles, but it seems like a Ninja Turtle voice. Hey, pizza. So, shell, yeah. So we, so they were like, that's gonna make a lot of money. And then that Peter Laird wanted to go was like more like the comic book. Why not? Let's make it authentic. Because the first one was like, we'll take the name, but that's pretty much it. We'll give them belt buckles with their initials on it, because who can tell them apart? All look same. Racist. But so we got dark, and it got darker and darker and darker. And it was made by people who loved anime. You may have noticed a couple of references to other anime, like in the opening title sequence, you know, Raph has a motorcycle, and it's totally shot for shot Akira. A lot of Shaw Brothers references, because Chuck Patton, God love him, amazing director, loved like Asian cinema, and just thought it was relevant to doing this, and it was, and I thought it was super cool. So most people I knew that grew up watching Ninja Turtles, had read the books afterwards, were now old enough to appreciate that this was darker. It didn't make as much money as the first one did, because now people knew what it was, there's already a different market out there. They tried to make us, when I say we, go more kidsy for the fast forward thing, where we go to the future and don't have to hide anymore, which is kind of a weird dynamic for turtles who always have to remain hidden in the sewers, like ninja, who aren't about showing themselves unless you're an orange ninja, like Naruto. I know you're Goku, but Naruto, I wear orange, I'm a ninja, you can't see me. But so we, I love the direction. I watched it as a kid, now I'm not one. I mean, I'm underneath the mask. But so I thought it was the best direction to go. It got a little serious and really dark. There was some stuff that we did and redid. Leo got super dark and emo when, you know, everyone almost died, and Leo had to be like, guys, like, stop screwing around. We almost got murdered by the Shredder, and if you stop like training, when we see him again, the only reason we survived that fight was BS. You know, some alien stopped time and teleported us. We didn't win. We lost. We should be dead. And he never forgot that. And that made him go on this other thing, which I thought was very, very, very brave and kind of stupid of 4 Kids. Because when you make a TV, and God bless him for being that way, because when you make a TV show, the idea is you do it now, you can sell it later. For syndication purposes, you don't want, like a Seinfeld, you don't need to know a whole history. You know the characters are, and you can jump in anywhere. With Ninja Turtles, there were these story arcs that would go over like 3 episodes, 5 episodes, and you needed to watch it in order. And if you didn't, you were lost. Like, I don't know why this is happening now. So, like, why is the nice leader now being sort of a butthole to everybody? But as it evolved, we got to really grow with our characters, and it was an amazing thing to be a part of. So I thought what they did was great. I think it was born out of a little bit of sort of hubris and ignorance, which, if they had done it the right way, it would have been a lot more boring. So thanks, 4 Kids, for making all those mistakes and making a better show. I mean, when we did Fast Forward, I thought it was a little silly, and they finally gave us a catchphrase because we had no cowabunga. We almost had cowabunga in the first episode. Mikey looks down this hole, and we're going to go chase the bad guys. And it's like the first episode of the comics, is the first episode of our series. He's about to, well, let's go, cowabunga! And before he can get it out, Raph just kicks him down the hole. He's like, yeah, that. So they gave us, it's ninja time! Which was like, really? Other than that season, I think it was the best version of Turtles. And I've had other people say it. So, whatever. And with all due respect. And I think what they're doing now at Nickelodeon is great. And I just saw Seth Green, who is now Leonardo. And I was like, I first met him through a Ninja Turtles fan who's like, oh, you gotta meet him because he's a huge Turtles fan. And I was like, okay. And then he worked on Venture Brothers, and I would see him at events, and he'd be like, oh, hey. So he like kind of knows me, but usually forgets my name. And then I just saw him at Upfronts for Adult Swim in New York, which is a big party they do use to bribe advertisers, basically. Everyone does it. They're like, ooh, come see our lineup. And don't you love our shows? Use your advertising money on our shows, because our shows will attract the best eyeballs. But it's turned into this like a concert. Miley Cyrus performed, free stuff everywhere. It's pretty fun. And celebrities. So, you know, it was the first time I saw him as Leo, and was like, Leo, man, high five, good for you. He's like, it's so cool. Yeah, so I love it. But I really like that we did a more daring, darker adult version.
Especially the Bad Future episode, Same as It Never Was, where...
Same as It Never Was, like, you got amputees and blind turtles.
And everybody dies.
Everybody dies. Yeah, spoiler alert, everything dies. It's typo negative to the score for that episode. Sorry, ask your big brother.